In Belém, Brazil, a city now hosting the 30th Global Climate Negotiations COP30, activists from Africa, South America, and Asia are pushing a message they insist the world can no longer ignore. At this side event, jointly organized by the Health of Mother Earth Foundation, HOMEF, and Oilwatch International, the campaigners are demanding what they call real solutions to the climate crisis, not recycled promises or technical jargon. Leading the charge is Nemo Bassi, Executive Director of HOMEF. For him, the real climate action is firmly rooted in the struggles of communities like Ogoni in Nigeria and Yasuni in Ecuador that have resisted fossil fuel exploitation for decades.
Climate action is about keeping fossil fuels from releasing carbon into the atmosphere, and that means keeping the fossils in the ground. This is the core of what the Conference of Parties on Climate Change ought to be talking about. But for 30 years, they're struggling, not to mention keeping fossils in the ground. They talk about phasing down to phase down fossils, and now to have a transition from fossils in transportation, all the false solution. The real solution is to Yasunize the world and to Ogonise the world.
For many here, the message is that if Yasuni could do it, if the Ogoni people could do it, then communities in Uganda, Namibia, Senegal, Brazil, and indeed everywhere threatened by fossil extraction can demand same. Olamide Martins, Associate Director of Climate Change at CAPA, says true climate justice must include accountability for polluters and compensation for communities living with the consequences. The conversation widened to Southeast Asia, where environmental defenders face even harsher realities. Clint Hoover, Secretary General of Advocates of Science and Technology for the People in the Philippines, described a region battered by rising seas, intensified typhoons, and an aggressive push for oil, gas, and mineral extraction.
Now we have an organic struggle. We have a people-centered struggle that provides detailed, expectation from the front line. And of course, this is expected to influence very, very positively, the direction at which the government will respond. And many a times, we also look at, how sincere the policies of government are. Where you depollute, where you organize, where you Yasunize, it gives you, a democratic policy that speaks directly to the concerns of the people.
In the name of just transition, quote-unquote just transition, because it's not just what's happening in Southeast Asia, there's the rush to mine green minerals used to power electric vehicles, but it even puts more pressure to communities already ravaged by mining and other environmentally destructive projects. Communities demand the control of their lands and natural resources. What we urgently need right now is real, just, and people-centered action now.
Across the panel, there was worry about the ever-growing list of confusing climate terms: net zero, carbon neutrality, decarbonization. Words, they argue, distract from the real issue, stopping fossil fuels at the source.
People whose areas are threatened by fossil fuel extraction can stand to demand that the fossils should be left in the ground. And today the struggle is that the government and the oil companies want to reopen those oil wells. And we're saying, with the Ogoni people, it's time to Ogonize. That means learn from the Ogoni struggle, and to Yasunize, learn from the Ecuadorian struggle, and make this global.
The groups insist that the world must embrace a clear and honest language, and that terms like Yasunize and Ogonise offer a straightforward call to action. Keep fossil fuels in the ground, respect community struggles, and allow frontline people to define their own development path. Nkoli Omodu, AIT News, Abuja.